On this day in history, January 16th, in 929, Emir Abd ar-Rahman III proclaimed himself Caliph of Córdoba, elevating the status of his realm in Al-Andalus, modern-day Spain, and asserting independence from the Abbasid and Fatimid caliphates. This move marked the beginning of a prosperous era for Muslim Spain, characterized by cultural, economic, and scientific advancements. On January 16, 1120, the Council of Nablus convened in the Crusader Kingdom of Jerusalem. This assembly established the earliest surviving written laws for the kingdom, addressing both ecclesiastical and secular matters, including moral conduct and legal procedures, to organize and govern the newly formed state. In January 1537, Sir Francis Bigod led an insurrection known as Bigod's Rebellion in northern England. This uprising aimed to resist the English Reformation and King Henry VIII's break with the Catholic Church. The rebellion was short-lived, and its failure led to the execution of its leaders and further consolidation of royal authority over religious matters. On January 16, 1547, Grand Duke Ivan IV of Muscovy was crowned as the first Tsar of Russia, a title that elevated his status and centralized his power. Known as Ivan the Terrible, his reign saw significant territorial expansion, governmental reforms, and the establishment of a centralized Russian state, though it was also marked by periods of intense repression and violence. In 1605, the first edition of El Ingenioso Hidalgo Don Quixote de la Mancha, Book 1 of Don Quixote, by Miguel de Cervantes, was published in Madrid, Spain. This novel is considered one of the greatest works of fiction ever written, offering a satirical take on chivalric romances and profoundly influencing Western literature. On January 16, 1707, the Scottish Parliament ratified the Act of Union, agreeing to unite with the Kingdom of England to form the Kingdom of Great Britain. This political move aimed to stabilize the economy and create a single, unified parliament, significantly shaping the future of the British Isles. In 1716, King Philip V of Spain issued the Nueva Plana decree for the Principality of Catalonia, abolishing its institutions and legal system. Catalonia's administrative structures were replaced by those of Castile, effectively ending Catalonia's status as a separate state and integrating it as a province under a centralized Spanish monarchy. On January 16, 1786, the Virginia General Assembly enacted the Statute for Religious Freedom, authored by Thomas Jefferson. This landmark legislation declared that no person could be compelled to attend or support any religious institution, laying the foundation for the separation of church and state in the United States. During the Peninsular War, on January 16, 1809, British forces, led by Sir John Moore, fought against the French at the Battle of La Coruña in Spain. The British managed to secure a tactical victory, allowing for the evacuation of their troops, though General Moore was killed in action. In 1847, during the westward expansion of the United States, John C. Fremont was appointed governor of the newly acquired California Territory. His leadership played a role in the early governance and organization of the territory following the Mexican-American War. On January 16, 1862, the Hartley Colliery disaster occurred in Northumberland, England, when the beam of the mine's pumping engine broke, blocking the single shaft and trapping miners underground. The tragedy resulted in the deaths of 204 men and boys and led to changes in UK law, requiring all collieries to have at least two independent means of escape. During the Russo-Turkish War, 1877–78, on January 16, 1878, Captain Alexander Barago led a squadron of the Russian Imperial Army Dragoons to liberate Plovdiv, then known as Philippopolis, from Ottoman rule. This victory was significant in the efforts to free Bulgaria from Ottoman domination. On January 16, 1883, the Pendleton Civil Service Reform Act was enacted by the U.S. Congress. This legislation established the United States Civil Service Commission and marked the beginning of the merit-based system for federal employment, reducing the influence of the patronage system. In 1909, during the Nimrod expedition, led by Ernest Shackleton, explorers reached the vicinity of the magnetic South Pole. This achievement was a significant milestone in the heroic age of Antarctic exploration. On January 16, 1913, Indian mathematician Srinivasa Ramanujan sent his first letter to British mathematician G.H. Hardy at Cambridge University. The letter contained numerous original mathematical results, leading to a fruitful collaboration and recognition of Ramanujan's extraordinary contributions to mathematics. On January 16, 1920, the League of Nations held its first council meeting in Paris, France. As an international organization aimed at maintaining peace and preventing future conflicts, this meeting marked the beginning of its efforts, although the League ultimately struggled to achieve its goals. On January 16, 1942, TWA Flight 3 crashed into Mount Potosi near Las Vegas, Nevada, killing all 22 people aboard, including actress Carole Lombard. The crash was attributed to pilot error caused by misjudged altitude during a turn. This tragedy deeply affected the American public, especially during the early days of World War II. On January 16, 1945, Adolf Hitler retreated to the Fear Bunker in Berlin as Allied forces closed in on Germany during World War II. The bunker served as Hitler's final command post, where he spent his last months before his death in April 1945. On January 16, 1969, Czech student Jan Polach set himself on fire in Wenceslas Square, Prague, in protest against the Soviet-led invasion of Czechoslovakia that crushed the Prague Spring reforms. Polach's act of self-immolation became a symbol of resistance against oppression. On January 16, 1969, the Soviet spacecraft Soyuz 4 and Soyuz 5 performed the first docking of crewed spacecraft in orbit. The mission also included the first transfer of crew between two space vehicles via a spacewalk, a significant achievement in space exploration. On January 16, 1991, coalition forces, led by the United States, began military operations against Iraq in response to its invasion of Kuwait. Known as Operation Desert Storm, this marked the start of the Gulf War, which ended with the liberation of Kuwait in February 1991. On January 16, 1992, the Chapultepec Peace Accords were signed in Mexico City, officially ending the 12-year Salvadoran Civil War. The agreement between the Salvadoran government and the FMLN rebels brought peace to the nation after a conflict that claimed over 75,000 lives. On January 16, 1995, an avalanche struck the Icelandic village of Slavik, destroying 25 homes and burying 26 people. 14 people were killed in one of the worst natural disasters in Iceland's history. The tragedy led to improved avalanche monitoring and safety measures. On January 16, 2002, the UN Security Council unanimously adopted a resolution imposing an arms embargo and freezing the assets of Osama bin Laden, al-Qaeda, and Taliban members. The measure was part of global efforts to combat terrorism following the September 11th attacks. On January 16, 2003, Space Shuttle Columbia launched for mission STS-107. Tragically, the shuttle disintegrated upon re-entry 16 days later, on February 1st, killing all 7 astronauts aboard. This disaster led to significant changes in NASA's safety protocols. On January 16, 2020, the first impeachment trial of U.S. President Donald Trump formally began in the Senate. Trump faced charges of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress related to his dealings with Ukraine. He was later acquitted by the Senate.